want to talk about one thing, pretty much one thing only today, and that is the Rhode pocket blushes. The reason that I want to talk about these specifically in a video by themselves is because I have found myself at a weird place, a weird crossroads, if you will, with these. Despite my better judgment, despite all of my massive criteria for cult favorite products of mine, I like these. They don't fit any of the standards that I usually hold my products to. They don't really meet the level of, ish that I have when I say I love these. But in spite of all of that, I still really love them. I'm actually very annoyed by that fact. I wish that I didn't feel that way. I wish that I could just be move on. But something about these stupid little chode design tubes has got a chokehold on me. I'm here to try to break it down, both for you and for myself, because to be honest, I'm a little bit perplexed. I don't quite know myself or where this very strong feeling is coming from, but let's break it down. So first of all, I have two shades. I'm gonna try and do a little fact checking in this video, which to be honest, I almost never do. It looks like they came out with 6 core shades. So I have 2 out of the 6. They had one limited edition shade that they offered only in their pop-ups. They had the, a pop-up in New York and a pop-up in London. I briefly toyed with the idea of trying to go to one of those, and then the first day they showed the line for it, and I was like, oh hell no. Oh hell to the no am I waiting on a line that looks like that for anything, let alone these. So I did not attend the pop-up, but they did have one limited edition shade there for that. The brand is relatively new. Did they launch last year or the year before? I can't remember if they're a year or 2 years old, but they're new. They're pretty new. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you know who owns the brand, or you know who the creative director is or whatever, Hailey Bieber. I am not I'm not like a Hailey Bieber person. I'm not even anti-Hailey Bieber. I just don't really care about Hailey Bieber. I'll admit that whenever they show her picture, I'm always just like, yeah, her skin looks good. So it didn't quite surprise me when she was coming out with her own brand. What did surprise me is that when she did come out with her brand, people were like, whoo, they were going nuts over it. And I'm like, who the hell is Hailey Bieber? Why do we care so much other than the fact that she looks good? Because usually when celebrities start makeup brands or skincare brands, they're not really using their own products to get to look like that. But anyway, people were going nuts over this brand. They have a very limited edited collection. I think for a lot of us, that is a big draw. Just the limitedness of anything makes you want it more. That is marketing 101. You limit how much you can get, and then people want to get it. It's smart. It's smart that the way they've structured it is like these little limited drops. They sell out, then they restock. People go crazy. They want it more. I would say that their price point is certainly not bad. I think it's like mid-tier is what I would call it. It's not cheap and it's not uber expensive. It's definitely not luxury, but these little tiny blushes are $24 each. You get 5.3 grams of product. Just want to compare that to what you get in this one. So actually, this is interesting. So here you get 5.3 grams of cream blush, which when I show you the inside, it doesn't look like very much. It looks very, very small. But I thought for sure if I compared it to the cream blush from Rose Inc., this is in the shade Foxglove, it would be comparatively less. Actually, no. This is only 4.5 grams of product in this big compact. So they are actually cramming quite a bit into these tiny tubes. I would say $24 for that amount of product is really not bad. I would say that that's probably a fair price. So they're not like crazy markups, at least when you get it from their website. And that's the other thing. So you can only get it through their website. They're not currently available at Sephora or Ulta or any other retailer. It's strictly through rhodeskin.com or through a pop-up if they choose to have one. That's it. I couldn't quite tell from the marketing exactly what the formula was going to be. I was really hoping for a slightly stiffer cream blush formula, something kind of like nude sticks, but not necessarily exactly like nude sticks because I find that they can be a little bit patchy, but something in that vein. And when they came out with these, I was like, those look like they could fit the bill. So I got the shade Piggy, which was this kind of like, not quite old gum, because we always joke about Hannah Louise Poston, who I love, always talks about how she's looking for a shade like old gum, and then I've seen a lot of other creators kind of talk about their same kind of search. This is definitely not old gum. This is like new gum. Not quite bubble gum, but like more fresh, slightly cool peachy pink gum. And I don't have any other blush shades like this in my collection, which was the reason that I was really drawn to it. I had been sort of feeling like I wanted something a little bit in this vein, like a cool pink, and when they came out with it, I was like, yeah, that sounds really nice. And then the other shade that I got further down the line after I got this one, separate order, was the shade Toasted Teddy. This one I was not initially really vibing with, but once the Lipstick Lesbians, who I love, they're on Instagram, shared about their comparisons of this blush to all these other deep-toned bronzy blushes or bronzers, I guess as you would call them. This one was head and shoulders like just different, deeper, darker, moodier than anything that they could compare it to. And that admittedly really drew me in. I was like, okay, this may be a little deep for me, but I want it and I'm interested in it. And it truly is, again, both of these shades ended up being quite unique within the context of my own collection. I'm gonna open these up once again because just let's talk about this, okay? The packaging design has been very divisive. You can see that you have this little tiny bullet within this very kind of big circle. So you feel like when you open it, either you feel like satisfaction out of that, like seeing it kind of cradled within this cute little, circle, or you feel like you're just seeing wasted space. And I've seen people talk about it both ways. Like either they're extremely satisfied by this design or they feel like it's just a waste of space. I can go both ways on it, but to be honest, there is something weirdly satisfying, at least for me, about the design of this blush. The fact that they called it pocket blush is bizarre because this is the most uncomfortable design that one could have for something to go in their pocket. Now, perhaps the cream blush, which is certainly malleable and could melt, is more protected in a tube like this so that if it's in your pocket and it gets warm, it's not gonna melt. For that reason, I could see why calling it pocket blush might be appropriate, but this is never gonna go in my pocket. I mean, maybe if I was wearing my parachute pants from like middle school with the big pockets, like this would be perfect for that. And it's certainly a fine size for most handbags if you're throwing it in your handbag, but I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a pocket blush or that many people are actually putting this in their pocket. They did this whole hilarious marketing campaign that I still laugh about. They're still sharing photos of it where they show models in bikinis with it like tucked into their string bikini. And I get it. I mean, it's funny. It's a little bit camp. I don't know if it's intended to be camp, but it's coming across as camp. But I was just like, dude, you're really pushing it here with the name. Anyway, maybe you're turned on by this design. Maybe you're turned off by it. I was hoping for something that would feel more luxurious. Now, granted, I already told you it's $24 and you do get a lot of product. So it's not as though these are hugely expensive and I'm expecting some sort of like luxury packaging, but Hailey Bieber's brand from the very beginning seems to have marketed itself as this like minimalist, but very high level of like product that would come in a case or a design or a packaging component that would really be desirable. Like if you're going to have one thing, you want the best of that thing. So even though it's not a luxury brand, I was expecting more. And this has zero weight to it. Weight for me is one of those things that, you can talk about it all you want, but when it comes down to it, if something in my hand has zero weight to it, it feels cheap. And I don't want to hold it, and I don't want to use it, and I don't want to play with it. it's just a turn off. Like when you pick this up and it feels as though it could fly out of your hand because there's zero weight to it, it's a bit of a disappointment. I don't know about you, maybe that's not a criteria for everyone, but for me, I really do enjoy when something has a bit of depth to it, a bit of weight to it, a cadence to it. Like I just feel as though these would be so much nicer to play with, use, hold, have on your vanity if they were a slightly more weighted component. And I can't imagine it would have been that difficult for them to do even within this exact design. It's just something that they chose not to do. Maybe it was simply a cost-saving measure. Maybe they didn't think it was important. You know, I don't know exactly what all the brand criteria are for creating each product. I hope that they're trying to be sustainable as well, but like these are plastic. So unless they're using recycled plastic, like, I don't know, they just seem a little bit wasteful. So like, why not just throw in a little bit of weight to them to make them feel more luxury? The color choice, I know a lot of other people talked about. It's, you know, it's chode-like in its design. It's this beige tan. They all come in the same color. However, they do have colored stickers on the bottom so that you can tell which one is which is helpful. They're all the same. I get it. I'm remembering they came out with those like phone cases for the lip tints and people were sort of like mocking that because they came out, I think it was originally they came out with like one kind of space green gray color and everybody's like, oh, the color. And I was like, I don't know, I don't hate it. I think it's like funny that they're coming out with a lip case, but now I feel like people are more on board. They're like, yeah, they came out with phone cases in brighter colors to match their new lip tints and now people are way more on board than they were the first time. So color, I know color can be very divisive. Everybody has their own feelings about it. To be honest, I didn't hate this. I definitely get why people are making all the dick jokes about them and like, more power to you. Talk about these looking like dicks as much as you want, but it doesn't bother me. It wasn't one of those things that was like a turn off for me. I was like, no, I just really want to use the product. Now I'm going to swatch them for you. This is Toasted Teddy and they are quite pigmented and they're very sheeny. Here's the bummer part. They are super, super emollient and creamy. The pro is that they give you this beautiful sheen on your cheek. They're lovely. You can apply them with your fingers super easily. That's all great. But the staying power of these and the ability to sort of like keep them restricted to a certain area on your cheek is extremely difficult. Like it's just really hard to keep them in the space that you want to keep them in, and the staying power is just not there, which is the same thing that I feel about their lip tints. Actually, the same exact thing. I have one of their lip tints. I got one of their new shades, Salty Tan? Salty Tan? Is that what it's called? I should really look this stuff up first. Yes, Salty Tan. I have the same complaint about the lip tint, which is beautiful, feels really nice, but super not long lasting and really difficult to sort of like keep in place on the lips because there's no inherent stick-to-itiveness. So you're constantly having to reapply and maybe use your finger to kind of keep it from spreading, which is not my favorite experience. But anyway, so here are those two shades. You have Piggy on top, Toasted Teddy on the bottom, so you can really see that shine. And, you know, if I try to blend this out with my finger, you can really start to see how you can kind of get a nice stain on your cheeks. This is such a beautiful brown terracotta, and it is more chocolatey than a lot of other shades that I own. And I think it was beautifully done. And Piggy is just this gorgeous, gummy, cool pink. And I find myself reaching for it again because I have no other shades like it in my collection. I desperately wish, that these were a little less emollient and a little more stiff, because then I would have so much less bad to say about them, because I feel like I go to put them on and they look beautiful, but as they wear throughout the day, they just kind of get lost. And that is not my favorite formulation for cream blush. It's perfect if you're like, I'm gonna put on my makeup and then I don't care if it disappears, and maybe you're going to the beach and that's exactly what you want. And I did wear these to the beach and actually it worked out pretty well for that. But if you're gonna wear them in any other scenario, like to work or to an event, I just wish it was the kind of thing that you didn't feel like you had to keep on your body to keep applying. And maybe that's why they called it pocket blush, because they knew that most people were gonna apply it and then need to pull it right back out of their pocket to put on more. So perhaps aptly named. If these were slightly stiffer, I would be way more over the moon than I am. I do think you get a lot of product for the price. I do think that the colors that they chose for their launch are really beautiful. I think that this brand does their marketing in general really, really well. All of their product photography for these blushes, all of the little comparisons to the tiny big and the tiny juice box and the little margarita. So enticing, so satisfying, really well crafted. Like, this marketing team knows what they're doing. Between the limited drops, the beautiful promotional photography, the edited, very slim nature of the portfolio as a whole, like, you know, they got me. They got my number. And I'm interested. These have remained kind of in my head. And interestingly enough, not for the reality of the product, which, as I've stated, is quite mixed, but for the fantasy that still lives in my head despite these being in my hand. Every time I use them, I think about that stuff that I fell in love with that I saw digitally and online, and I enjoy the experience of using these. But the reality is that they're not as long lasting as I wish they were. The packaging is not as friendly as I wish it was. It doesn't feel like a luxury experience to use, and they're okay, but I still love them. And so it's been, like I said, this weird crossroads where I don't quite know what to say or do with myself about them, but I keep wanting more colors, and I feel like I've been hypnotized by Hailey Bieber, and I don't even really know who she is, except that she's married to Justin Bieber, and I don't really like Justin Bieber, and I don't need to get into that further in this video. Just know that I don't really like Justin Bieber. So despite all of my better instincts, and despite my usual criteria for what I need to fall in love with something, I have weirdly fallen in love with these little pocket chodes, and I have a feeling that they're gonna stay in my collection probably through a number of declutters, and I'm still gonna carry that fantasy of them in my head. Make of this what you will. I know this is a really weird video to come back with after being gone for a little while, but I just felt like a need to talk about it out loud, and I just turned my camera on and decided to talk to you about it. So I hope maybe to somebody watching, this is weirdly at all helpful. If it's not, that's okay too. I promise you, other videos that I have promised you are coming, but I am trying to enjoy the summer. I have a lot going on, and I'm just, YouTube has just taken a back seat, and I'm sure y'all can understand. There's no big drama going on. It's just, it is what it is. But I like coming back here, and I like coming back and talking to you. So I do appreciate you. If you watched this whole video, you're the best. Thank you for being here. If you're not already subscribed, I would love it if you could subscribe so that you know when I do drop a new video. I know it's not all the time, but then at least you'll know. So subscribe if you're interested. And I do hope that you're gonna have a wonderful rest of your day, whatever you are doing. And I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Bye.